Good evening, everybody. It is Wednesday, August 2nd, 2023. It is the latest installment of Sports Talk Live with your host, myself, Nick Burt. We obviously had technical difficulties on Monday, which made for a quite short show, which you basically only saw the CFL recap. But, we got to move on from these difficulties. It looks like for now, everything is going well. Hopefully it stays like this the whole show because we got a jam-packed show today. A lot has happened within the past 48 hours. We got a few things to look forward to because there's a lot going on. So let's just get into it. There is a very, very large topic in the college sports world right now that seems to be on everybody's mind. And it is the Pac-12 being on the verge of collapse. This very much seems more of a when, not if situation. It looks like the writing is on the wall for the conference. They are obviously already losing USC and UCLA to the Big 10 next year in 2024. They're losing Colorado to the Big 12 next year in 2024. And now it's seeming more and more likely that Arizona and Arizona State will also be departing for the Big 12, which would bring the conference down to 7 schools, which is not sustainable at all. Obviously, this is all centered around them not having a media rights deal going into next year. That is a very large problem for an entity that needs to make money to keep surviving, basically. So they were presented a proposal yesterday, apparently. It was mostly streaming, and that was with Apple. Sounds like the 9 schools remaining aren't really thrilled with it because it's a lot of incentive-based that are just unreasonable incentives, and now they are all looking in other directions. Arizona has seemed to be the leading factor in going to the Big 12 for the past week. I think Arizona State kind of just tagged along within the past 48 hours. Utah is supposedly going to be going to the Big 12 too. That's in flux right now. Because going into Monday, the saying from the Big 12 was they only have 1 spot left. And that's it. Now, of course, that's all subjective, basically. Things can change on a whim, basically. So Arizona and Arizona State are going along, then the Big 12 has 15 teams. You obviously have to add 1 more to get to 16. So the common thought will be Utah. Obviously there are we just had an alert here from Fabrizio Romano about Tottenham. They're approaching a 2003 born talented striker Elidio Valdez. I can give my thoughts on that later. Just had to make sure that was cleared through. But Utah seems to be the one that's going to be that 16th team. They obviously already have that huge rivalry with BYU. You're going along with what that would be 3 other Pac-12 members. And that seems to be the death nail for the Pac-12 conference. Now you may be saying, well, there's still some somewhat brand names left in the Pac-12 if this happens, so why don't they just build around that? Well, the news came out this afternoon. The Big Ten is beginning preliminary conversations about more expansion if the Pac-12 collapses. The names that were mentioned are the 4 big names that are left in the Pac-12: Oregon, Washington, Stanford, and Cal Berkeley. It seems more of a formality at this point that at least 2 of those teams are going to be added, being Oregon and Washington. Feel like Stanford and Cal Berkeley also kind of are going to be fast-tracked into the Big Ten. Those 2 more because of the academic range of things compared to Oregon and Washington being on the athletic side of things. Obviously, Cal and Stanford, their athletics have fallen off quite a bit in the past 15 years. Obviously, Stanford had that resurgence under Jim Harbaugh, but David Shaw slowly progressed down, and they're in the bottom of the barrel right now with Cal. Cal really hasn't been outstanding the past 15 years. But, this gives the Big Ten their Western wing that they would want. Obviously, that was kind of the master plan going all along with the addition of USC and UCLA. You couldn't just leave those two out there with the rest of the conference basically being on the East Coast and Midwest. But it seems that this Big Ten may be becoming a Big 20 sooner rather than later. And the real question is, when does that Big 20 turn into a Big 24 possibly? Other big news coming out today, a lot of realignment rumors coming out today. The Florida State Board of Trustees had a meeting today. It was basically just talking about buying a plane, but that plane could be used for realignment, but okay. One of their chancellors said, it is when, not if, we leave the ACC, and when is the right time to do it, and how do they figure it out? Florida State just said the quiet part out loud here. The ACC is only staying together because of that grant of rights deal that go through 2036 that nobody can seem to break. So I think we're getting closer and closer to one of the schools or multiple of the schools finding a way out of this. I think each day we get closer and closer to that happening. A conversation like that just going public, because this wasn't like some closed door meeting. This was asked by a media member. They gave the response that, hey, it's when, not if we leave. I 100% they believe that Florida State is a target for the Big Ten. Obviously, getting that South branch of the Big Ten, I guess I would say. I think the Big Ten is prepared for a raid on the ACC if that happens. I would not be surprised if one of Duke or North Carolina come along. I don't see it being both. 100% will not be surprised if Georgia Tech's along. So you make that 3. Then I think it could be Miami possibly. But obviously the big dog that they want that's somewhat tied into this grant of rights deal but isn't really is Notre Dame. I think the writing's also on the wall for Notre Dame. Their TV contract with NBC is up after this year. You haven't really heard a ton of negotiations about it, and I don't know if Notre Dame's just holding the cards close to their chest right now, but I kind of feel like the writing's on the wall for Notre Dame. We're more and more progressing each day from a P5 to a P2.5, I'd say. I don't want to fully consider the Big 12 one of the P3 because it's just a jumbled mess of what's left. So, yes, technically it's going to be a P3. But it's all up in the air. It's going to be the Big Ten, the SEC, and everybody else. That's the way this train is rolling down the tracks. Yes, this is a monumental change in college sports, which, let's be honest, probably for the worst. Money has taken over a lot. I mean, it always has, but even now more than ever, TV contracts are now dictating conferences, basically. And this has become a media war, as we have seen. The SEC partnered with ESPN going up against Fox, mostly Fox, NBC, and CBS with the Big Ten. Obviously, Notre Dame kind of mixed in with NBC. You got the Big 12 mixed with both as they have ESPN and Fox. It's all a jumbled mess. Who knows? We may have more clarity by Friday. The Pac-12 may be fully dead by Friday. The Pac-12 may have had a resurgence by Friday. Who knows? We will obviously come back to this topic come Friday because there are a lot of moving pieces here. Changes by the hour, it seems. like I said, a lot going on. It really does seem that it's going to be sooner rather than later that both the Pac-12 collapsing, the Big Ten expanding. Obviously, the SEC has been quite quiet here. I think they have their eyes more on teams in the ACC once that breaks than with the Pac-12, obviously. I don't think they want a full Big Ten. I still think the SEC wants to stay regionalized and just, take over the South, basically. Who knows? Like I said, a lot of moving pieces here. A lot is going on. We will stay up to date on these very important topics. But right now, one of the more important things right now, it's Wednesday, which means it's time for the CFL Power Rankings. So after week 8, we saw the Edmonton Elks, who are still in 9th, lose their 20th straight home game. The North American record now, they just don't, like I say this every week, they don't seem to be moving out of the basement anytime soon. I just don't see it happening. At some point, they may even move down if things get worse. We might have fake teams basically moving into the power rankings, like the Atlantic Schooners, maybe the Baltimore Stallions from 1995. Who knows? But for now, Edmonton is at 9. At 8 is Hamilton. Even though they got a win this weekend, I feel like they kind of still stay at 8. Just given that, yes, they won, but it doesn't really mean much in the end. Saskatchewan stays at 7. They just don't look good at all. The loss to Trevor Harris is really going to ruin their season. Calgary falls down to 6. Ottawa falls down to 5 after their loss to Hamilton. Calgary lost to the number 4 team, Montreal. They move up to 4. Thought that was a somewhat impressive performance from them against the Stampeders. I liked what I saw from them, giving them the boost up to 4. 3-2-1. Once again, stay the same as they have been the past, what seems like 3 or 4 weeks. It is Winnipeg 3, BC 2, Toronto 1. So given that, obviously during that realignment talk, we got that Fabrizio Romano alert about Tottenham potentially pursuing Elijah Valdez. I mean, that it could be a bad pronunciation. That is quite interesting given that I really haven't heard his name until now. The bigger news today was it seems like Mickey Van de Ven from Wolfsburg seems to be getting over the line for Tottenham. But the fact that they're targeting a striker, it seems like they're targeting multiple strikers, and the Van de Ven signing, which from rumors is around 50 million euros. I do believe we have hit the end of the road with Harry Kane. I do believe he has been sold to Bayern. I believe, Daniel Levy and Bayern have an agreement to keep this under wraps until, Tottenham get their signings done so they don't have like a tax on them basically. Because if you sell a major player and get a huge fee, when you go to buy players, you're going to get an extra tax basically on from the team you're buying from, because they're like, oh, you have all this money, so therefore we're gonna make this purchase. We're gonna raise the price on you. I do believe he has been sold. I absolutely am gutted about it. It's hard to believe. They said, if he plays versus Brentford, he's going to be there at least until January, most likely the year. I mean, that clock's ticking for Bayern. I really do feel like with these signings and then potentially looking at a striker, I think it's over. And it's so tough to watch and hear that, a player that like just grew up with that team. Like, I mean, he started with Tottenham at the age of 11. Here we are. He's 30, I believe. He just turned 30 last week. But, it's tough seeing that happen. But yeah, so that's just a major thing going on there. I felt like I needed to address it given that I got the alert and said it on the broadcast. You may be saying, well, it must be time for Women's World Cup action. We will not be doing that today, given that there's only one group left, and that's tomorrow morning. Felt like it would be better to take a full look back at all the groups on Friday, because then the knockout stage starts Saturday. So that just works better. It's better to do that way than to split it up today. Obviously, the U.S. has advanced barely. There was a lot to be said there. It will be said on Friday. But England are through. That's the most important thing. England are through, top of the group. Like I said, most important thing. So finally, we are going to end with this because I hope there's American football on tomorrow. Is it going to be good? No. Is it American football, though, and you're going to watch? Yeah, of course you are. It is the Hall of Fame game. The Cleveland Browns are facing off against the New York Jets in Canton, Ohio tomorrow. I believe it's an 8 p.m. kickoff or 8-ish kickoff. I don't know. The Browns are favored by 1.5. If you're betting preseason NFL, I mean, that's on you. That's not on me. You're having third and fourth string players decide if you're winning or losing money. That's not for me, though. It will be I don't think we're going to see any starters tomorrow. So if you're looking to see Aaron Rodgers play his first snaps in a New York Jets uniform, you're not going to see that tomorrow, I don't think. If you're looking to see Nick Chubb or Myles Garrett playing in Canton, Ohio, no, you're not going to. I believe, I don't even know who the Jets backup is. That's bad on me. But I do believe you're going to see, Kellen Mond, I believe, is the Browns backup right now. I think you're going to see him tomorrow starting. Should be an interesting game, though. I think both teams have a few talented guys trying to break that roster that this game could show a lot for both of them. But, for me as a Browns fan, it's nice to get Browns football on my TV. It's going to be preseason football and be absolutely terrible to watch, and the final score is going to be 21-20 or something like that. But given that the calendar's flipped to August, watching that first preseason game, football is back, basically. It's going to be bad football, but you're just happy. You're going to bask in the glory of it. I'm excited to watch, like I said, Browns fans. So looking forward to tomorrow night when they face off against the Jets. Obviously Joe Thomas going in this weekend to the Hall of Fame. Huge deal for the Browns, given he played the most snaps in Browns history, I believe is his record. Most consecutive snaps, I believe, is actually the record. Just looking forward to tomorrow. And so that's it. That's going to be it for tonight. We covered a lot of ground within this shortish time frame. Come Friday, Women's World Cup, we'll take a look back at the group stage. We'll take a look at the knockout stage. We probably recap that preseason game going on tomorrow. Then we do have plans for a big show. The second, third, and fourth tier of English football start this weekend, so I want to do a full preview show. That may be separate. That may be tomorrow night. Who knows? Because I believe the season does start Friday afternoon here in America. So maybe that's separate. We'll see. But we will be back here for sure on Friday. Make sure to check back on this channel tomorrow just in case, that does go separate. That English table or football league preview is the official term. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this. Thank you for watching. Doesn't look like we had any technical difficulties today, which is a very good positive. So thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe, tell anybody you know about it. And we will be back officially on Friday, but just, check in tomorrow night. Maybe there's going to be something special sitting there waiting for you to watch. Hopefully you enjoyed, and we will see you back here on Friday.